and Department Store Union, UFCW. And I'm also chair of the Democratic National Committee's Labor Council. And I have the pleasure of welcoming you to the first of the Labor Council's 2 meetings during Convention Week. I read on a group chat this morning a note that was posted by a young Democrat. They posted, if you're a union person at the Democratic Convention and you don't go to the Labor Council meetings, it's like visiting the Vatican and not seeing the Sistine Chapel. So what I think I really want to do is to welcome you to the Sistine Chapel of the Democratic National Convention. As we do at all DNC meetings, we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going to ask Eric Dean to come to the stage and to lead us in the pledge. Our brother, Eric Dean, is the international president of the Iron Workers, and he's a good friend.
And a Chicago guy.
And a Chicago guy.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir.
I'd also like to acknowledge where we're meeting. The Democratic National Committee wishes to acknowledge that we gather together to state our values on lands that have been stewarded through many centuries by the ancestors and descendants of tribal nations who have been here since time immemorial. We honor the communities native to this continent and recognize that our country was built on indigenous homelands. And as we get started, I'd also like to introduce the vice chair of the council, my friend and our sister, the amazing Roxanne Brown, International Vice President of the United Steelworkers, and we'll be hearing from Roxy shortly. And I'd also like to recognize the members of the Labor Council Steering Committee. AFL-CIO Secretary Treasurer Fred Redmond. And I know she's on her way, SEIU President April Varrett. Paula Herbert from the National Education Association. Ron Kaminsky from Laborers International Union. Elaine Harris from the Communication Workers of America. Artie Blanco, who worked so hard on so many things from the AFL-CIO. Andre Washington from AFSCME. And Carla Hernandez-Maff from AFT. Friends, sisters and brothers, siblings, all of you. There is so much excitement in the city right now. Momentum keeps building every day all across the country because we know we can win. We know what we need to do in order to win. And if we do the work, if the labor movement does the work, we will win, because when we fight,
We win!
when we fight,
We win!
when we fight,
We win!
we also know something else too. The Democratic Party did not create the labor movement. The labor movement created the modern Democratic Party. There is no Democratic Party without the American labor movement. And Democrats must never forget that. For the last 4 years, we have seen what a difference smart, compassionate, serious leadership can make. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have provided a reimagining of our federal government that brought new urgency to advancing workers' rights. In the aftermath of the COVID epidemic, the economy was rebuilt. Jobs, union jobs, were created. A shaken nation was stabilized. And throughout it all, we had and continue to have the most outspokenly pro-union administration in our nation's history. An administration that is not afraid to speak out against corporations who exploit their employees and stifle union organizing. On issue after issue, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris sided with workers. They have been in our union halls, listening to our voices. They have been on our picket lines. And they have given us a seat at the table in the most important rooms in our government, just as it should be. Thank you, Joe Biden. Thank you, Kamala Harris. There is a clear contrast in this race. Donald Trump's agenda has at its heart undermining the rights of women, immigrants, African Americans, Latinos, LGBTQ+ people, and working people all across the board. Make no mistake about it. Despite all the pretending, despite all the theatrics, Donald Trump is no friend of working people. For 900 pages, Trump's Project 2025 playbook dives into excruciating detail of how a Trump-Vance administration would roll back workers' rights, curbing the right to organize, eliminating overtime pay laws, gutting health and safety protections, and protections against child labor. On top of that, Trump's agenda would jack up costs and rip away access to affordable health care for millions. Trump and his MAGA Republican Party are no friends to working people and organized labor. They are by and for the billionaires. And if anybody ever had any doubt about that, all they have to do is listen to his interview with Elon Musk last week, where he applauded firing workers who went on strike. Boo is right. But we are better than that. Democrats are better than that. America is better than that.
Right.
We are better than loudmouth hucksters, con men, and hypocrites. People whose only interest is lining their own pockets. We are better than the parade of greedy flim-flam men, conspiracy theory wackos, proto-fascists, and flat-out weirdos that Trump represents and wants to empower. And now in this election, we need to rise to the occasion. And we need to sink another electoral stake into the heart of this malignancy. Kamala Harris is more than just a continuation of the pro-worker policies of the last 3.5 years. She represents something new and exciting, something bold. She is part of a new generation of dynamic leadership within the Democratic Party. Together with Tim Walz, they represent an optimistic, inclusive view of a nation being challenged by dangerous currents. Our party is the party of hope and opportunity, a party of answers and not just insults, a party that represents every American and is focused on raising everyone up and not tearing anyone down. We are the party of Kamala Harris. We are the party of Tim Walz. And Kamala Harris and Tim Walz may just be the perfect antidote for a nation trying to ward off the sickness of Donald Trump. They are our joyous warriors. Look, it's not enough to be anti-Trump. We are articulating a vision that is grounded in the concerns of working people, a vision that paints a picture of a future where everyday Americans thrive, where the rights of every person are respected, where the contributions of hardworking people are rewarded, where divisiveness is shunned, and the benefits of inclusivity are explained and embraced. And those of us in the labor movement and those who support us, we have a unique role to play. The people we represent span all walks of life, and they have something essential in common. They work hard every day to take care of themselves and their families, and they are open to a conversation, a real conversation about how we can work together to provide opportunities for the next generation, about how we can strengthen the labor movement so that working people can take care of themselves, about how we can make the air more breathable and our water safer to drink, about how we can figure out how to provide affordable quality health care to everyone and create a fair system of taxation where the wealthy and corporations pay their fair share. They are tired of partisan squabbling. They want answers. We have an opportunity to have these conversations and to provide those answers. And I believe if we do, we will win. Kamala Harris will be president. Tim Walz will be vice president. Chuck Schumer will remain Senate Majority Leader. Hakeem Jeffries will be the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And together, we will have taken a massive step forward in bringing our country together and silencing the voices of hate and division. a massive step towards continuing our nation's historic journey towards justice and equity and equality for all, and towards fulfilling the promise of America.
Yes. Nice.
Friends, sisters, and brothers, and siblings, and everybody, tell me again, when we fight,
We win.
when we fight,
We win.
when we fight,
We win.
thank you all.
Great. Love it.
Now I'm about to have one of the highlights of my life, and that is introducing a very good friend and an extraordinary leader. Through good times and bad, Senator Chuck Schumer has always been there for working people and unions. He's always had our back. He's marched with us. Chuck, I have all these nice things to say about you, but I want to say one more. Brooklyn tough and Brooklyn smart. He's never been afraid to go to battle on our behalf with bullies like Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
The current and future Majority Leader of the United States Senate, United States Senator Chuck Schumer.
You're great. How are you, Leslie? Hello, my dear. Now, first, we have, please laugh with me. We have to have a moment of appreciation for Stuart Applebaum.
Yes. Yes.
Because if introducing me as one of the highlights of his life, he needs to have a better life. Anyway, seriously, I've known Stuart, well, let me start by telling a story. So I ran first for the Assembly when I was 23 years old. I had practiced law for a summer in one of these big fancy law firms. I found I was pushing a pencil. I found legal work boring, no offense to the lawyers. And I was pushing a pencil for some fat-ass rich guy who I knew I wouldn't like if I ever met him. So the Assembly district opened up in my district. It was controlled by a big corrupt machine that ignored what the constituency in the area needed. And I ran. The first day I ran, I didn't have much of it. No one thought I had a chance. The first day I ran, I went into my local barber, Frankie, for those of you from Brooklyn, Stewart, on Nostrand Avenue, Frankie the barber. It's now Michael's, the Italian restaurant, but so be it. Anyway, I said, Frankie, he'd give me every haircut I'd had since I was a little boy. I said, Frankie, would you put a poster in your window? He said, sure, kid. And then he said, kid, I never told you this. I'm not only the local barber, I'm the local bookie. You're the 50-to-1 underdog. How much you laying on yourself, kid? But I worked and worked, and I won. And you know why I won? There was only one group that was in my corner. Labor.
Yes.
Some of the great labor leaders, like Victor Gottbaum and Morty Barr and so many others, rallied to my side because I came from a union family. My grandpa was one of the founders of the Paper Workers Union. He worked in the paper mills up in Utica, New York. And labor came to my side, and that night, in the Union Hall where we celebrated victory, I said to the members of the unions who were there, you, men and women of labor, were there when I needed you. As long as I'm in office, I will always be there when you need me, and it's been that way ever since. So I love labor. I know how important you are. I know that you built the middle class, you and those before you, and if we make you stronger, we will increase the strength of the middle class and have many more people get into it.
That's right.
And it's going to be led by great people on this platform. Let me thank everyone here. My dear friend Becky, do I love her, from NEA. Roxanne, you know the song? Roxanne. Roxanne from the Steelworkers. The great Stuart. Come up here, Stuart. Stand up. Let's just. And your great, great, great labor leader, Liz Schuler. What a great job she does. Stand up, everybody. On to victory in November.
Nice.
And I know that April Verret of SEIU is coming on next. What a great union they are. So let me just say this. When we had the majority in the House, in the Senate, and with our great President Joe Biden, and let's have a strong round of applause for one of the greatest presidents we have ever had, and a true patriot who did what's right for America, Joseph Robinette Biden. And when we had the majority, we had the most pro-labor 2 years that we've ever had. When the Republicans said they didn't give a damn about public workers, we said we did, and we passed over $400 billion to help our public workers keep meeting.
Yes.
When we knew that our arts industry was in real trouble, we passed the Save Our Stages Act and got $2 billion into their hands. When we knew that pensions of so many working people were at risk, a man came over to me in Buffalo. He's a big guy, twice my size. He had a lot of tattoos, but he had tears in his eyes. And he said to me, you know, they just told me I'm losing 90% of my pension because some financier invested it in the wrong place and they want to make me pay for it. And he said, I put in my money every few weeks. And I knew it wasn't going to make me rich, but I knew I'd get something. And right now, he said, my wife, I don't care about me, he said, but my wife, my 80-year-old mom, and my daughter depend on that pension. Please save it. The Republicans said no, we said yes, and we put over $1 billion into those pension funds and saved the pensions of millions of working people. And infrastructure. Donald Trump kept saying, infrastructure week. He couldn't get his finger out of his you-know-what to get anything done. But we did. We passed more infrastructure dollars than we ever have. And you know what we said? Every one of those dollars has to be done by union labor with PLA and Davis-Bacon. No scab labor. And when we said the CHIPS Act, chips and science and all those we said stuff had to stop going overseas. One of the best things I ever did was vote against NAFTA and not let those jobs go overseas when I was a Congress member. Not only did we say the jobs are coming back, but we said the factories have to be built with union labor and the people who work there have to be union. And we did so much else, so much else. But folks, the most exciting thing we're doing is what we're going to do in November and then in the 2 years after. We're going to do two groups of good things. One, if you think we did a lot in 21-22 in terms of helping labor, in terms of getting more jobs, in terms of everything that helps build the middle class, you ain't seen nothing yet. We're going to have even more dollars for all the things I talked about. We're going to improve health care. We're going to make sure we have more job training. We're going to support union apprenticeship programs. We're going to pass the PRO Act so you can organize. With your help, with the people on this stage and so many others, we're going to do so much. But we're going to do another thing. We are going to beat Donald Trump and his vice president's candidacy. I don't even want to say the guy's name. I'll just say he's weird. But we're going to beat them by so much that Donald Trump is going to get on the plane, get on the train to Florida. He's going to go home, and he's never going to run for office or bother us ever, 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 ever again. Bye-bye, Donald. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Donald. With union labor behind us, with the great men and women of labor behind us, he's not going to know. He's going to not know how great, he's going to see how great we are, and we're going to beat him. So, folks, we have a great candidate. Kamala Harris was one of the great leaders in the Senate. She helped pass $35 insulin so that seniors could get it. And when we get back to Senate, we're going to do it for everybody. We're going to say that the pharmaceutical companies can't kick you around. We're going to make sure no one pays more than a total of $2,000 for all drugs. We're going to let them negotiate Medicare with that industry and get the costs down. We're going to make sure costs for energy go down. We're going to make sure that we have more money in our pockets. And we're going to make sure that that tax cut that Donald Trump passed for the rich is repealed and the rich finally pay their damn share. That's what we'll do under a great leader like Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. That's what we're going to do. This is going to be so much fun. This is such a happy convention. America is smiling from ear to ear because they know we're going to get rid of Donald Trump, and they know we're going to do even more for working people when we win. So, folks, let's hear it for winning in November. Let's hear it for doing great things the next 2 years. And let's hear it for sending Donald Trump way back home to Florida. Thank you, everybody. Let's do it. Whoa. Come on, April. And this is going to be one of the highlights of our lives this great week. Thank you, everybody.
Our next speaker is a man who, in his own words, gets shit done. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro has built his career on helping working people and everyday Americans. As Pennsylvania Attorney General, he won $21 million for over 1,200 workers in the Keystone State, the largest prevailing wage criminal case in U.S. history. As governor, he's been a powerful advocate for workers, playing a key role in ending a transit officer strike by helping negotiate a 13% raise, 13%. He continues to fight for increasing the minimum wage in the state, and he signed into law a free breakfast program for all of Pennsylvania's public school students. Please welcome our ally, who is part of the energetic future of our party, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro.
How we all doing? I know this is a little makeshift, but this is a beautiful House of Labor, and I'm honored to be here with all of you. Let me say thank you to Stuart for the kind introduction. And let me say, I look out in the crowd and I see a bunch of good folks from Pennsylvania here. Let me hear you. And I see them all right here, but let me just say, Angela Farida and the head of our state AFL-CIO, I am proud to partner with you to make progress in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Our Commonwealth is home to 750,000 proud union members. Union members who built the middle class, union members who built the bridges in Pittsburgh, who educate our children across this great Commonwealth, and who do the hard work every single day to help our fellow Pennsylvanians with their needs. I've been there when organized labor in times of tragedy and triumph, when the eyes of the nation were on us, have stepped up and done their part to protect our interests. It was about a year ago when I-95, that critical road that stretches from Maine all the way to Florida, that carries 200,000 cars and trucks every day, when that road collapsed and the experts told us it would take months to rebuild, it was the hands of the Philadelphia building trades that rebuilt that road in just 12 days. 12 days. When the eyes of the nation were on us, it was organized labor that stepped up and did what was necessary to get our economy moving again and to get our families moving again. We see it in big ways and small. The way a child can learn because that young woman dedicated herself to being a teacher. The way that young child can walk to and from school in a safe community because that police officer cares about their community. This is what organized labor has done for us, and I want you to know I will always have your backs.
Yes, we have yours.
Let me tell you something. I think it is critically important in our Commonwealth and across this country that we treat everyone with a level of the same respect. Whether you choose to be a lawyer or you choose to be a laborer, we are going to respect whatever path you choose, because in this nation, everyone should have the freedom to chart their own course and the opportunity to succeed. That is one of the reasons why on my first day in office, as the governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I signed an executive order making 92% of all state government jobs no longer require a college degree. 66,000 doors of opportunity were open to people who no longer had an arbitrary barrier holding them back, but instead were welcoming them, saying, we're going to value your skills. We are going to recognize you for your talents, whether those talents were cultivated in the military or in a union hall. We've invested in Votech again, and we've invested in, hear me on this, union apprenticeship programs at record levels. And we are using the power of government to put more people to work. For the first time ever, student teachers, Becky Pringle, now have stipends available to them so they can earn a living while they're learning to teach our kids. For the first time ever, sisters and brothers in the building trades, we are using PLAs when we do big work projects in our Commonwealth. And in Pennsylvania, we respect the union way of life. Let me tell you who else respects the union way of life. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz respect the union way of life. Whether there are SEIU nurses working with our seniors, or whether it's someone building a road in the heat of summer, the level of respect that is being shown to our workers is unmatched when it comes to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. They've spent a career doing this work. You know, Kamala Harris and I have known each other about 2 decades.
We've both been prosecutors. We've both been attorneys general. And we have both gone to court to stand up for workers who've been screwed by the bosses. And there couldn't be a more clear contrast in the race for president. Kamala Harris has gone to court. Kamala Harris has walked the halls of power. Kamala Harris has been by Joe Biden's side to stand up for workers. And what has Donald Trump done? Donald Trump quite literally went to the Supreme Court of the United States and petitioned those justices to make this nation a right-to-work nation. Hear me on this. As long as Kamala Harris is president, this will never be a right-to-work nation. Never. Let's not forget. Let us not forget, because I know some people out there, not in this room, but there's some people out there who have a little bit of brain fog about what it was like when Donald Trump was in charge. When he was in charge, he quite literally packed the NLRB with a bunch of corporate lawyer shills who worked overtime to take away your rights. We're not going back to that. We are not going back. And you can tell what Donald Trump's values were. I remember this vividly as Attorney General. He put a rule in place that said when you go to a restaurant or a bar and you tip your waiter, your waitress, your bartender, that they wouldn't be able to keep their tips, that those tips would be sent to the back of the house. The owner of the restaurant would keep those tips. We went to court against Donald Trump because everybody in this room, we stand up for those waiters and waitresses and bartenders and the people who often don't get the level of respect they deserve in our economy. And let me tell you something, we kicked Donald Trump's ass in court, and we are going to kick his ass in this election. You know, in Pennsylvania, I know Pennsylvania is a long word, but a lot of letters in that word. We really, in Pennsylvania, live by 3 simple letters. And they're the same 3 simple letters that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz live by. And that is GSD. We focus on getting shit done for the American people. And I'm so excited to have partners in the White House who are going to work with us the way Joe Biden has worked with us to rebuild our infrastructure, to stand up for our teachers, to stand up for our nurses, our cops, our firefighters, and do the hard work necessary to move this country forward. Now, here's the last thing I want to say to all of you. I know that this is a moment where there are real threats. There are real challenges. And Donald Trump poses a serious danger to our economy, to our workers, and to world affairs. But notwithstanding those challenges, I want you to know I am more optimistic and hopeful than ever before. And I'll tell you why. Because throughout our shared history, over the last 248 years ago, the first chapter of which, written in Becky Pringle's hometown of Philadelphia, it has been patriots constantly coming together to write the stories of our American history in ways where when the story and the chapter begins, it always ends with us in a better place. Every chapter in our American story has ended with us being more just, more free, more tolerant. And while there have been times where we've taken a couple steps forward and it feels like maybe we're taking one back, in every single chapter of our American story, it's been ordinary Americans rising up, demanding more, seeking justice, looking for a better future, and writing that chapter in a way that leaves us in a better place for our kids and our grandkids. And throughout that history, it's been organized labor. It's been folks like you on the front lines doing that work, not just to win the election before us, but to create a more just and tolerant and peaceful society. So the reason I am hopeful, the reason I am optimistic is because of all of you. We have been here before. We have triumphed through adversity, and we will do so again over the next 80 days. My friends in organized labor, the task now falls to each of us to win this election, to write the next chapter, and to build a more just and tolerant and inclusive society. Are you with me? Yes. Then let us do the hard work. Let us get this done. Let's elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and build a brighter future for all Americans. Thank you all. God bless you. Let us get to work. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
One amazing speaker after another. That's the Democratic Party. Our next guest is also an extraordinary leader. Liz Shuler is the first woman ever elected as president of the AFL-CIO. It's a position she earned with her determination, smarts, compassion, and skills. And I couldn't be prouder to have her as the voice of America's labor movement. Under her leadership and vision, the AFL-CIO is adapting to the changing world of work and embracing the diversity that is making the modern labor movement a powerful force for societal change. A strong, forward-thinking AFL-CIO is what the labor movement of the 21st century needs to harness the power of all workers. And Liz Shuler is the person we need at the helm. As we continue to fight to bring workers power and a voice that cannot be ignored, it is my honor to introduce the president of the National AFL-CIO, our sister, Liz Shuler.
Wow, oh my God. Thank you. Go get him. Wow, wow, wow. Hello, Union family. You're beautiful. Look at the power in this room. This makes me feel so happy. I just want to say thank you so much to Stuart, because he's up here. All of y'all don't see the background that's going on this program, and he's managing so much. Put together, he and Roxanne, this amazing program over the next couple of days to bring us all together. A leader, a visionary. Thank you, Stuart, for all you do for our labor movement in your day job and otherwise. So we love you, we appreciate you. And Roxanne Brown, Woman of Steel. Through and through, and I love seeing her leading on some of the issues of our time. Think about clean energy. Think about infrastructure and innovating the future. That makes me happy as well. So thank you. And I know Becky and Jimmy and I are going to be on a panel in just a minute, but I'm so honored to be here with so many leaders. I know we have a number of executive council members in the room. We have state and local AFL-CIO leaders in the room, and many of you in this room are active in your communities with our labor movement. So thank you. Thank you for that. And what an incredible lineup. It's hard to follow Senator Schumer, Governor Shapiro. Maybe I'll just say they were my warm-up act or something. I don't know. But it's a union town, Chicago. This is labor's town. I've never seen so much union garb on the streets of a city at one time. I'm loving it. And we see women workers, we see young workers, people from literally every background, cat ladies, dog ladies. I think about J.D. Vance and I say, it's gonna be your worst nightmare, you know, as you're walking around the street, seeing all of us out in force across this country. But I also want to acknowledge my partner, Fred Redmond, who is the Secretary-Treasurer of the AFL-CIO. And we've been out traveling this country. And I know I was out on the West Coast all last week at 4 different national conventions, different union conventions in the span of, I think, 48 hours. Cement masons, plasters, sheet metal workers, nurses, bus drivers, municipal workers, across these conventions. I just got this feeling that all these people, no matter what walk of life you were from, were so fired up and so excited about this moment that we have in front of us. The second you walked into the room, union leaders were excited, members, our allies, you can just feel it. You can just feel it. Do you feel it? That's what I thought. That's what I thought. It's because of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and this unbelievable, you know, we're talking about joy. We're talking about hope. We're talking about opportunity. It's such a welcome contrast, and people have just been missing it for such a long time. I hope you feel the same way, because it is about time that this is about something going deeper than, you know, this is just not one campaign, and this is not about surface messaging that we're seeing from the other side. This is about working people. People are waking up and they are seeing the labor movement in a whole new light. And that's because of you. That's because of you. We are giving people hope. People who have felt powerless are now looking at the labor movement, and they are seeing there actually is a way to fight back. There actually is a way to push back against corporate greed and inequality and racism, right? And that is the labor movement. We are the place to make the change. There is a way to make more money, a way to have good health care, a good home, and a retirement. And that is the labor movement, because it's better in a union. It's better in a union. Unions are winning. Unions are winning. It's that simple. And we have had some amazing history-making wins this past year. If you think about working people who have been on the move, people all over the country, our auto workers, UAW, writers, actors, SAG-AFTRA, WGA, I know are in the house. I could go on and on, because we've seen so many workers who have been fed up and fired up, no matter where you go in this country, winning in places that literally people didn't think it was possible, right? You think about the Deep South. We're organizing workers in all kinds of jobs. Baristas, museum workers, cannabis shops, right? Video game workers. That always gets a chuckle, doesn't it? All led by a new generation of young people from every walk of life, which is so exciting. And get this, 900,000 unionized workers won double-digit pay increases last year. That is astounding. This is our time. This is our time, because we have momentum. But momentum only matters if you do something with it, right? And that's what this week and this election are all about. And this is about the largest mobilization of working people this country has ever seen. That is what the labor movement's going to deliver. That's right. Let me say it again. The largest mobilization of workers in American history that we're going to deliver to the polls. And this isn't going to be some top-down Washington, D.C. thing, right? This is going to happen on the ground, in our communities, with these historic investments that you just heard about in our local infrastructure. They're coming to life. People are feeling it, especially in the swing states. And this is about a member-to-member and our families and our households kind of program. And that's what you all will deliver. Because I'm going to leave you with a couple data points, okay? We are going to be the difference makers because every data point tells us that people trust their unions more than their friends and more than their families. I don't know what that says about their families, but they trust you. They trust you. And in battleground states right now, Kamala Harris is plus 15 among union members. That's incredible. In non-labor union households, she's negative 2 points. So you see the margin right there. And we are the ones that are going to make the margin and take this campaign to the public. But if we turn out union members in higher numbers, we got this, right? Now, all we need is for you all to go back into your communities and talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, talk to your families, your loved ones, because we are going to leave Chicago fired up. I know that we're going to have a ton of momentum, but my fear is that we leave here thinking that, oh, this is all over. We got this. Okay, that's what I thought, because we got to leave here and actually double down, right? Bring in 1, 2, 5, 10 more people to the polls between now and November. What about signing up for a day of action? Raise your hand if you're from Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, or Nevada. All right, we got days of action going on this weekend that you can be a part of, right? And then there's Labor Day. That is our day. And that's in a few weeks. And we have to maximize it. And you are going to turn out big walks and canvases on Labor Day weekend. That's our kickoff, right? So betterinaunion.org, visit our site if you want to sign up with our central labor councils, our state federations. We've got program running everywhere across this country. I'll say one more thing as I close. It's really easy to watch Trump kind of implode in these speeches and these interviews. It's a lot of fun to watch. But this event, well, first of all, let's just talk about the press conference. Did anybody watch the one that he did talking about the, quote, pain of working families at his private golf club? Yeah, that's the speech to roll out an economic plan, right? And there is no plan. Nobody ever focuses on that. It's easy to watch him flail. It's easy to watch him sort of lose his focus. But that is how we felt in 2016, okay? We cannot take a single day or a single vote for granted. That's right. We have to remind people, we have seen this movie before for 4 years, and guess what? It was a horror movie. Remind people that Kamala Harris walked picket lines while Donald Trump crossed picket lines, and J.D. Vance was giving TED Talks to billionaires. Remind people that this is literally life and death for the right to join a union, the right to strike, the right to organize. So I know this group is ready. Are you ready? Are you fired up and ready?
Yes.
Are you ready to make history?
Yes.
Are you ready to win? Thank you, our union family. Let's get to work.
We are now going to have a panel consisting of three amazing labor leaders. And I'm really honored to introduce the members of the panel in addition to Liz. Becky Pringle, who's the president of the National Education Association. She is the leader of the largest union in the United States and the largest professional association in the United States, representing over 3 million educators. Becky Pringle is a passionate advocate for public education and the rights of educators. Her commitment to advancing educational equity, improving working conditions for teachers, and fostering a supportive learning environment for students has been central to her leadership. With a career dedicated to empowering educators and championing educational reform, Becky brings invaluable insights and passion to our discussion today. And please join me in welcoming NEA President Becky Pringle. And before, we're not done yet. And we're joined by another truly remarkable union leader, and that's Jimmy Williams, Jr.
Yeah.
Jimmy is the general president of the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades. He's a fourth-generation glazier from District Council 21, Local Union 252, out of Philadelphia.
Go Birds!
Jimmy spent over a decade in the field organizing, meeting workers at their homes and union halls and on job sites, which helped shape his belief that a more diverse and engaged membership will strengthen his union at all levels. We are pleased he can join us today, and I could tell you from what I've seen with my own eyes that he is one of the most innovative and thoughtful and respected labor leaders in our country today. Jimmy Williams, Jr.
Jimmy!
Thank you, Roxy. Thank you, Roxy.
And so what I think I'm going to do is pose some questions to our panelists. And I may group the questions together and let you talk about all of them at once. And so for all of you, I'm going to ask, over the past 4 years, the Biden-Harris administration has proven to be an ally of organized labor in legislation, regulation, and in public support. And I'd ask you, how has the enthusiasm of your union grown over the past 4 years with having an administration that has the back of organized labor? And I'd also ask, economic inequality and inflation are major issues for many workers. How do you evaluate the candidates' plans to address these issues? And what specific proposals from the candidates do you find most promising? And Becky, may I start with you?
You sure can. So I need to start by having you join me in thanking Stuart. He has been extraordinary. An extraordinary voice for labor and positioned us in a way that I think we all not only understand but are taking advantage of. And can I just say, the view from up here is magnificent. Just looking out at you, this is what I know. This is what I know. labor. We're going to win all the things. We're going to win all the things. We're going to win all the things. That's what's going to happen. Now, I'm going to settle down and answer your question, Stuart. I just need to say that. I taught middle-level learners the wonders of science for over 30 years. And as I have this incredible honor to serve as president of the National Education Association, I actually had the chance to see our 3 million members really lean into an administration that when they said they were going to partner with us, they actually did that. And Stuart, I'm glad you framed the question that way because we knew the legacy of Joe Biden and his commitment to education. We knew the work that Kamala Harris had done throughout her life to support public education and educators, the people who had dedicated their lives to educating America's students. But for us to see a president who not only said the U word, but lifted us up in ways that we had never seen before. And to be able to see educators, not just our teachers, but all of our educators, our support staff, all of them. And for his very first speech, for him to use his bully pulpit to say that we need to respect educators, we need to pay them in a way that reflects the important work they do in this society. So, Stuart, when you ask me how that impacted and mobilized our members, you saw that throughout these four years. And of course, he didn't just stop there. He made sure that he had a vice president who believed in that too. And so as Vice President Kamala Harris traveled across this country, not only did she lift up educators and the rights of unions, but she built partnerships to try to actually get at the 5-alarm crisis that we know exists in this country today, which is the educator shortage. She is the one who led the efforts to partner with our HBCUs and our minority-serving institutions and our tribal colleges in a way that we could actually attract and retain educators of color. She was the one that is the one that's leading our work inside of our schools around clean energy, making sure that we have reduced the emissions and working to make sure that our members have the training and support they need to lead on that effort. And so the reason I was appreciative that you talked about the entire administration, because it gives me the chance to talk about the people that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris surrounded themselves with. People like Secretary Walsh, who put in place, talked to us, educators, about being part of the registered apprenticeship program, which had never happened before. And Secretary Chu, who is continuing that work. It gives me the chance to talk about partnering with Secretary Cardona in ways that, regardless of the people on that MAGA-rigged Supreme Court trying to take away all this administration has done to reduce student debt, did that stop them? It did not. It did not stop them. We continue to push on reducing student debt for our students. So when you talk about what this administration has done, and then when we imagine what Kamala Harris and our teacher, Tim Walz, are gonna do, this is what I see. I see us reclaiming public education as a common good in this country. That's what I see. I see Kamala Harris and Tim Walz actually transforming public education in a way that it is a racially and socially just and equitable system that prepares every student, everyone to succeed in this diverse and interdependent world. That's what I see, Stuart. And with unions, with labor, we will what? Win all the things.
Becky, that was amazing. And Jimmy, I'm sorry to do this to you, but you have to follow that. You're next.
What she said. Now, first off, I do want to say what an honor it is to be up here with such powerful women leaders in our labor movement. It's an honor to serve with, beside, and for Becky, Roxanne. I see Randi Weingarten here, and our president, Liz Shuler. But I will say it'll probably be a bigger honor in November to be able to be a United States citizen that serves under the first female president of the United States. And thank God we have Kamala Harris in place to carry on the legacy of what Becky just spoke of, the most pro-union administration of our lifetimes. And as a 46-year-old man, I can tell you I started giving up. I really did start giving up on whether or not politicians could live up to the promise that they've made to the labor movement over the course of my lifetime. And honestly, I never thought I'd see the day. But when I think about all of the things that have been done to help the average construction worker in this country over the course of the last 4 years, I honestly have to pinch myself. I do. All the way going back to the passage of the bipartisan infrastructure bill, early in the Biden-Harris administration. The implementation of that bill is just starting to hit right now as we speak. And it's life-changing jobs for people that want to make a difference and want to raise a family in this economy. But it went beyond that. It went beyond that with the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act and the CHIPS and Science Act. And these jobs that are already starting to come online right now are impacting and changing communities as we speak. And we can't go backwards to what was before. And we finally have a chance to go forward with a vision that is inclusive, one that knows that the future workforce of this country may not look like me. It certainly may not look like me, but there's room for all at the table in the American labor movement and under a Kamala Harris and Tim Walz administration. And we have that on the ballot, and our members know that as well. Our members can feel the difference as we speak. We've experienced in the construction industry 2 years of our best growth, and that's just the start of what the next 4 years could look like if we elect Vice President Harris. And our members can feel that. And it goes a step beyond that. It's not just our members. It's those workers that want a chance at a union as well. Those immigrant workers that need the American labor movement to organize them. They know that the only path forward is to have a president, Kamala Harris, because what Donald Trump has done to the immigrant worker in the construction industry cannot be tolerated for the next 4 years. We have a choice. And our members that want to be members know that that choice is on the ballot this November. And thank you, Stuart. Get off your phone.
Thank you, Jimmy. We talk about amazing women leaders, and I also want to recognize Randi Weingarten, who is an amazing woman leader as well. And we'll be hearing from Randi shortly. And I see she's talking to the former Secretary of Labor, Hilda Solis, and thank you for all the work you did on behalf of us. Liz.
Yes.
Let me give you a slightly different question, if I could, to wrap up this panel. How does the AFL-CIO plan to mobilize union members and workers in support of their preferred candidates at every level? What strategies are being employed to ensure high voter turnout among union members?
Well, thank you again for that. And I just have to say, I'm so proud of the organizing that our labor movement has done, both for this DNC, because we are 20% of the delegates at this convention. Look at you. I mean, that takes organizing and hard work and laying the groundwork over a period of a long time to get here. So I'm just so proud of that. And in fact, we are 20%, I think, of the possible pool of votes to get Kamala Harris and Tim Walz into office, right? So that is the stakes. We can actually, as I said earlier, turn out in higher numbers than the public. And I'm talking about union members, but I'm also talking about householders. Because if you think about that, you're knocking on that door, you talk to the member, but you also have the universe of several other people in the household, right? So that's a 2x, 3x kind of impact, right? So we want to use all of our tools in the toolbox. Our state AFL-CIO bodies, central labor councils are a real center of gravity. We've been building capacity, not just for Labor Day and beyond. We've been doing this so that we are in early, that we are building up local talent that stays in place year round so that we're not ramping up and ramping down, that we're building credibility with those trusted sources to talk to members and local unions. So we're gonna obviously do the relational organizing face-to-face piece of this, but we're also utilizing the technology. We're getting better and faster at our targeting and our data, and using things like TikTok, right, to get the message out there and be innovative. So we have to do both. But I will say it's our secret weapon, the ability to get to those members face to face, because we are the trusted source in a sea of misinformation and disinformation where people do not know who to trust. And if you're gonna look at social media and be fed something, and you're gonna talk to a steward at the job site, which one do you think you're gonna trust? It's gonna be that person that you know, that you can listen to and engage with. So I think that building over time. Also, I'm gonna share a little tip, a little secret. The polling and the research we've done shows that our members, more than ever before, are saying, hey, be careful, don't tell me who to vote for, just give me the facts. I don't know if y'all have been hearing this, right? So that makes it even more important that we don't just show up and put a flyer in someone's face and say, vote for this person. We've got to take them along the journey, and issues-based approaches are the way to do it. And we have toolkits. We have toolkits that are ready-made to do that. So if you want to leave here and you want to get going right away, betterinaunion.org. You can find it on our website, betterinaunion.org. And we will have all the tools and places to connect to your Central Labor Council and State Federation so that we can actually get those votes to the polls one conversation at a time. And that's on all of us. So thank you for your hard work.
Is labor in the house?
Yeah!
Is labor in the house?
Yeah!
Making sure y'all are still paying attention. Let's thank this amazing panel. All right, I also want to give a shout out to Brian Bryant, who's the new machinist president, who's here. Brian. All right, I have the privilege of introducing our next speaker. Miguel Cardona has spent a lifetime furthering education in America, first as an elementary school teacher and principal, and later as Commissioner of Education in Connecticut. Unlike his predecessor in the Trump administration, he's a product of and proponent of public schools, and he believes that we all have a right to a quality education. Working in the Biden-Harris administration, he's helped wipe out over $132 billion in student loan debt. even while the program has been attacked and handcuffed by the right-wing Trump Supreme Court. Please give a warm labor welcome to Miguel Cardona.
Thank you. Hey, you. How we doing? We feeling energized? Well, good, we should. We have an amazing ticket, and we're gonna win. We're gonna win. Look, I can feel the energy here in Chicago. I got in, a little bit of delay, about 2:30 in the morning. Strong coffee, and the energy is keeping me moving because we have a bold, inspiring, and unifying path forward under Vice President Harris and Governor Walz. That's what this election's about. It's about our future. Vice President Harris and Governor Walz are fighting for a future that every American can see themselves in, where our middle class is strong and our freedoms are sound. And you can't talk about middle class without talking about the important role of our unions in our country. One of the things I love about this country is the diversity that we have here. It's our greatest strength, despite what some people are saying about poisoning blood and all that. It's our greatest strength. One thing that unifies us is that we come from different places, but we come here so that our families could have a better life. That's what unifies us. And that's something that, in my experience, was made possible because of unions. My father was a police officer for over 30 years and benefited from a strong union. I remember us going into the middle class, my father buying his first home, and I moved 7 times before I was 13 years old, from one apartment to another. But when he got a good, strong union job and he got benefits and he got a good competitive salary and overtime benefits, we were able to buy our first home. That's the power of unions. I was blessed to serve as a vice president for my local union when I was an educator coming up as a school principal. And I, too, was at the table saying, no, we need to make sure we're treated with dignity. For me, unions represent push in the middle class, benefits, competitive salaries, people being able to buy homes. There's no way in hell we can invest in America and not think that unions are not going to be the backbone of that work ahead. Whether it's the CHIPS and Science Act, the infrastructure plan, or the climate provisions and the Inflation Reduction Act, they must be union work, or else a very small few benefit. Look, Vice President Harris and Governor Walz, they get it. They grew up in middle-class families. They worked hard to get ahead. And now they want to help other families do the same. They have a vision of freedom, of fairness, justice, opportunity for everyone, not just some, but for everyone. It stands in sharp contrast to what Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are offering. They simply want to sell out the middle class to benefit the wealthy and well-connected. See, I grew up old school hip hop, and there was a song that said, you could get with this.
You can get with that.
You could get with, or you could get with, or you could get with, but you should get with this, because this is where it's at. It's that simple. It's that simple. It's that simple for our country. Look at Project 2025. What a mess that is. What a train wreck that is. So forget about Project 2025. Let's focus on our project of 2024, getting Kamala Harris elected as president. We're not going back. We're not going back to the divisive rhetoric of 2016 and 2020 through 2021, where as a school principal and as a district leader, I remember walking into elementary schools and learning from teachers that their Mexican-American students wouldn't come to school because they were afraid of being deported, because they were promoting separating families. That's not the America that I want for my children. Look, I'm here in my personal capacity. but I'm a lifelong educator. I'm a father. The title of Papi is my favorite title. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that we're clear about what's at stake, that you could get with this or you could get with that. And clearly, they're not like us. They're not like us. They're not, right? They're not. So when we go to the polls this fall, we can choose our future. And we're all going to have to answer the question, what kind of country do we want to live in? The choice is very clear to me. My message is, damn it, let's wake up, let's make noise. There has to be a sense of urgency. And as a lifelong educator and father of students in schools, we need to pay our teachers more. Yeah. Period. Period. That is the middle class. That is the middle class. Yo, let's get to work unapologetically defending democracy, defending freedom, defending liberty. And to do that well, not only do we need the Harris-Walz ticket, but we need Democrats up and down the ballot to win because we need the Hill. We need the Hill. So let's all do our work. Let's put in the work. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's get it done. We can do this. We will do this. Thank you. Thank you. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I love the hip hop.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you
gotta
so
do it.
much.
Gotta do
Thank
it.
you.
Grazie. Andy Bashir.
All right, y'all still hanging with us? Is labor in the house? Is labor in the house? All right. It gives me great pleasure to introduce this next speaker, who is not only a great friend to labor, but a great friend to our union, the Steelworkers. There's a reason we've heard this next guest's name when talking about the future of this party. What he's been able to accomplish as a Democrat in the red state of Kentucky is impressive, and a testament to the reality that when you speak to working people about the issues that really matter, they will vote for you regardless of party affiliation. Under Governor Beshear's leadership, Kentucky has seen economic growth and development, including securing private investments and creating new jobs. Please give a warm labor movement welcome to Governor Andy Beshear.
Folks, my name is Andy Beshear, and I am the proud pro-union governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. If you don't know me, I'm the guy that last November beat Mitch McConnell's hand-picked candidate by 5 percentage points. I'm the guy that last November beat Donald Trump's hand-picked candidate by more than 5 percentage points. And I'm a guy that's going to help Kamala Harris beat Donald Trump again this year and become president of the United States. I am proud as governor to have supported every pro-union bill that has been filed in our General Assembly. And I'm proud that I vetoed every anti-union bill that has passed since I became governor. And I'm here to say, under a pro-union governor, Kentucky has never done better. Folks, we have broken every record for private sector investment, new jobs, wages, exports, tourism, you name it. We're seeing recidivism at an all-time low, and our drug overdose deaths are going down. Good things happen when you have pro-union leadership. And that's why we have to elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz this November.
Right.
I think about under the Biden-Harris administration, along with our leadership in a state like Kentucky, where they've passed right to work for less, where they've repealed the prevailing wage. Still, with every attack they've launched at us, union membership has increased for 2 straight years. And that's why we have to win this election and continue this type of leadership. See, I recognize organized labor has been fighting this fight for decades. You get, like I get, that while we are invested in this election, most people wake up thinking about their job and whether they make enough to support their kids. They're thinking about their next doctor's appointment They're thinking about the roads and bridges they're going to drive that day. They're thinking about the public school they drop their kids off at. I'm proud to be a 100% pro-public education governor. And they're thinking about their public safety. When you don't reach, when you don't meet those everyday needs, it's hard to get to anything else. And that's where labor has been in good times and in tough times. Fighting for better wages, fighting for better conditions, fighting for our families. You look at organized labor and they help build the strongest middle class this world has ever seen. They've helped our families do better year after year after year. We owe so much to each and every one of our unions. Let's give them a big thank you for their decades of service. Folks, we need your help. We've got a chance to elect one of the strongest pro-union tickets that we have ever seen. Kamala Harris is smart and she is strong, and that will make her a good president. But she's also kind and has empathy, and that will make her a great president. You look at what she fights for, standing up against the corporate interests, and you look at who she's running against. The contrast could not be more stark. This is the must-win of our lifetime, because you heard Donald Trump talking to Elon Musk, didn't you? You heard what he said he'd do to any striking workers, didn't you? That's because Donald Trump has never followed a contract he signed. And if you want to know how I know, it's because of multiple bankruptcies and 34 felony convictions. So listen, we need your help, and we got a lot of leaders that are behind me that I'm going to cut this thing short for. We just have weeks left before this election. What's on the line for my kids and yours is so important. I think about the fact that my mom, my wife, and my daughter have had a constitutional right stripped from them. I think it's our job to strip Donald Trump from ever being president ever again. And I think we need to prove to this country, when you oppose labor unions, when you oppose our educators and public education, you will lose. So, folks, I'm proud to be that pro-union, pro-public education governor. I'm going to keep fighting the fight in Kentucky, and I'm going to travel all around this country. I'm going to travel to the places that most people don't go to make sure people feel seen, to make sure that people feel heard, to make sure that in the future 7 states don't determine the presidency, that everyone has a seat at this table, that everyone is seen, that everyone is valued, and that everyone is welcome. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. I'll tell Larry Reeves.
I appreciate that. That was cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Sure.
All right, it gives me the greatest pleasure, I don't even need to read notes for this one, to introduce our next speaker, and that is someone who needs no introduction. I can't tell you, as a young sister, yes, I'm still young, coming up in the labor movement, thank you, girl. There are certain people that you look to as North Stars, and this next speaker is one of my North Stars. Please join me in welcoming the incomparable, the incredible President of the American Federation of Teachers, Randi Weingarten.
I'm putting my notes down.
Yeah.
I love you. The hour is late. People have left.
Yes.
Not starting to leave. But hey guys. But I want to say literally only one or two things. Because notice today, for those of you who have stayed for the whole time, notice who showed up in this room. Notice that there were so many people who showed up in this room that this room is well over the time in terms of speaking. And this is with amazing people who have basically said to people, you know, stay on time. And that's because of two things. You, and also the people that we have recently elected. When I say you, it's because we've had remarkable labor activists for years. Those people who have been members of unions and active in unions understand what the stakes are. How many people in this room have done labor walks, have made the pitches about why it's important to elect someone, have been at a bargaining table, have had to face the kind of stuff we've had to face. I'm looking at the machinists, the steel workers, the retail clothing and textile workers, the educators. Florida, we know what it's like to face adversity. We know what it's like to face challenge. We know what it means to survive, to thrive. But we also know we need people in public office who are not going to just try to get our vote, but they're going to earn our vote, and they're going to use that vote each and every day that they are in office. And we know the difference. We know the people who have said, oh, where else are they going to go? How many times have we heard that? So I am actually here right now to say, I've been through a lot of these folks. And Joe Biden, as president, did something that I have not seen any other president of the United States do, including dear friends of mine and including people who, as a social studies teacher, I taught about. And that is, he walked that walk every single day. When he said he was pro-union, he acted pro-union every single day. And tonight, we're going to honor him for who he is and what he represents. Because when he said he was pro-union, it wasn't that he was pro the union leaders, it was that he was pro our members each and every day, and what he did helped our members each and every day. From the pension issues to American Rescue, I can go on and on. But this is the point I want to make, which is those of us who know Kamala Harris and who know Tim Walz. You just heard Andy Beshear say it. We're not going to fight. We're not going to win everything. Everything we win, we have to fight for. That's who we are. But if we don't have someone in the White House, someone who understands that struggle, somebody who actually says, you need to have rights, not we're going to fire your asses. Excuse me. That is who, I'm not in front of a class, right? That is who Kamala Harris is, and that's who Tim Walz is. They are about and understand labor opportunity and education opportunity. They understand how to create a bigger and greater wealth and a bigger and greater economy, and how to make it fairer. They understand the role of labor. They understand the role of organizing. They will be our partners. The real issue is, this is still going to be a close race. This week, we are celebrating and we are partying. Next week, we got to go back to working the way we work for a collective bargaining contract, that way we work for anything that is important to us. Because if anything is important, whether it's wages or a dignified retirement or education opportunity or college without crushing debt or family leave or health care or housing, any of the things that are important, every single day we need to fight to get Kamala Harris and Tim Walz elected. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are we going to walk? we're going to get them elected. Thank you. Love you.
All right, Stuart. Who's next?
Fired up.
The panel? Okay.
I want to thank you all for being here. We also have a lot of speakers who've been waiting a long time to speak. And I'm really delighted that they're with us because they're really outstanding members of the U.S. House of Representatives. And I'd like to ask you to join me in welcoming them. Mark Pocan has represented Wisconsin's 2nd Congressional District since 2013. He was in the state assembly before, but he's always, no matter where he's been an advocate for labor rights and progressive policies. And we're delighted to have as well Congressman Stephen Horsford, who's been a consistent supporter, voting with the most pro-labor administration we've ever seen 100% of the time. They both know what's important to working people, believing that health care is a right for all Americans, not a privilege. And we are so happy that they are with us today. And I think what I'm going to do, if it's all right with you, is maybe pose a couple of questions and let you answer that any way you want to. And let me say that a Biden-Harris administration and Congress were able to achieve major achievements for organized labor. And the 117th Congress made significant investments in America and in working people. And I'd like to know what you think that means. What should we take away from that? And how do you think it would be different if we had a Republican-controlled House of Representatives?
Sure. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Mark Pocan from Wisconsin's 2nd Congressional District. Wisconsin's in the House, all right. And one of the co-chairs of the Labor Caucus, along with Stephen Horsford and Debbie Dingell and Don Norcross, who's an IBEW member and can't be with us today. I think watching what we were able to do in those first 2 years with a Democratic House, Senate, and President, getting 25 million additional for the NLRB. So if you vote for a union, you can have a union. It's important to have that. And there's so much more with the PRO Act we need to do and other legislation for public employees that we can only do with 4 more seats in making Hakeem Jeffries the next Speaker of the House of Representatives. Conversely, look at the roadmap for the Trump administration. We know in Project 2025, when you look at the labor standards in there, it wants to get rid of prevailing wage. It wants to let states not allow unionization. It wants to go after overtime rules. It wants to do so many things that would be a direct attack to workers and organized labor, that is their plan. And even though they're trying to run from it, we know 140 former Trump officials helped write Trump's Project 2025. So the difference couldn't be stronger between a Harris-Walz administration and a Trump J.D. Vance administration.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Congressman Stephen Horsford from Nevada's 4th Congressional District, and I am proud union member, come out of Unite Here and Culinary Workers 226. I led the largest joint labor management training fund for 10 years before I went to Congress, and it's the labor movement that taught me the importance, the value, and the dignity of work and protecting workers at every stand. And I'm proud as one of the co-chairs to work with all unions to make sure that you have a voice at the table. One of the reasons that we've been able to have such major wins for labor, for unions, is because you've had a seat at the table with the first ever created Congressional Labor Caucus. We have more than 100 members, and we don't do anything without labor's voice being at the table. Because of that, we've been able to enhance overtime protections so that workers get the money that they've been owed for the work that they do. I've focused on raising wages, making sure that we protect all workers, whether it's public sector or private sector unions, making sure that the project labor agreements and Davis-Bacon provisions are in all the major provisions of the law that we pass. And the focus that I want to just say is we can't get the PRO Act without Democrats in Congress. That we have to make sure that we elect Democrats up and down the ballot and take back the majority in the House so that Bobby Scott is the chair of Education and Labor again, with Hakeem Jeffries as the Speaker of the House of Representatives. So all of us have to do the work between now and November to secure this majority. I represent one of 30 most competitive House districts in the country. In addition to co-chairing the Labor Caucus, I'm chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. We have one objective between now and November, and that is to win. Win for working people, win for unions, continue to build union jobs, and to make sure that when we take the majority in the House, maintain the majority in the Senate, and elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to the White House, that we're prepared on day one with a labor agenda that continues to move America forward and not backward. Thank you.
We've also been joined by a friend of mine, a fellow New Yorker, a congressman I've known for a long time, and that's Tom Suozzi, who's been a tireless advocate for working people. And people all over the country were excited when he was able to take back his congressional seat. And while Tom is, I believe, while Tom is here with us today, his successor and predecessor is in court scheduled to plead guilty to all sorts of charges. So Tom has always been there for working people. He championed the PRO Act. He worked hard to secure a fix for multi-employer pension plans. He helped negotiate the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and was very, very active in the Labor Caucus while serving as one of its co-chairs. And Tom, I'll pose to you the same questions that we just heard answered.
Thank you, Stuart. Let's hear for Stuart Applebaum.
Yay!
So I'm Tom Suozzi from New York, and it's true, in February, I flipped the seat from red to blue. And I was in Congress for 6 years. I decided I would run for governor of New York in a Democratic primary. I got my ass kicked, so I was out of politics. But the guy who ran for my seat and won became a famous figure. His name is George Santos. So he got kicked out of Congress. I ran again, and I won on my special election, thanks in large part to labor. And as Stuart mentioned, today, George Santos is being sentenced. He's pleading guilty, and he's probably going to go to jail. We'll see what's going to happen. And let me just say that we've got a big job to do, okay? Number one is the Republicans under Trump have tried to make a play for working families. They've tried to convince people that they're for working people. And they're like pickpockets. Hassan? They're like pickpockets. You know what a pickpocket does? One person comes in and they bump into you and they push you. And when they push you, their partner picks your pocket. So they're trying to get everybody excited about everything they can think of, whether it's like transgender, or they're trying to get you excited about the border, or they're trying to get you excited about Gaza. They're trying to get everybody mad, get mad, you're yelling, you're screaming, you're upset, and then they refuse to increase the minimum wage from $7.25 an hour. They refuse to support the PRO Act. They refuse to give more power to the NLRB. They refuse to do the things that are necessary for us to move working men and women forward. So we look at our country's history. I'm 62 this year. in the 1980s, we were all worried about Japan and Germany taking over the car industry. You remember that? Who was around for that, okay? Japan and Germany are going to take over everything. And we changed in America. As a matter of fact, the Business Roundtable put out a press statement just today. And what they did is they changed from the old days when they said, okay, the job of a company, a corporation, is to worry about its shareholders, but it's also supposed to worry about its employees, and it's also supposed to worry about the community it's in. And they changed back in 1980s, and they said, we're just going to worry about our shareholders. No more worrying about the employees, no more worrying about the community we're from. Remember the movie Wall Street with Michael Douglas? And he makes a speech, he says, greed is good, greed is good. It's all about whatever we can do to make money, that's all that matters. And the other movie, Pretty Woman, you remember that movie with Richard Gere and Julia Roberts? Okay, he's going to buy the company from the old guy, and he's going to sell everything off. But all these people are going to lose their jobs. Man, we're going to make a lot of money. But we're going to leave behind our big factory. But we're going to make a lot of money. That's what happened in America. We made a lot of money from the 1980s till now. The Dow Jones has gone up over 2,000%. The gross domestic product has gone up over 1,000%. But workers' wages have gone up by less than 20%. We haven't shared the wealth we have created in America with the people who go to work every day. We haven't shared the wealth with the working men and women that make this country work. So the reason we support labor so much is because that's what America is about. It's supposed to be a basic deal. I'll work hard. In return for working hard, I make enough money so I can have a good life. I don't care whether you're a right-wing conservative or a progressive, you should believe in return for working hard, I get to make enough money so I can buy a house, educate my kids, have health insurance, and retire one day without being scared. That's what unions are all about. And that's why this panel and all of you and all of us in the Democratic Party support unions. That's why President Joe Biden supported unions more than any other president we've seen in a long, long time. And that's why Kamala Harris is going to support unions like we've never seen before. So we've got to convince, getting the leadership of labor, they're with us a lot, Democrats. We got to get the members, all the members, to recognize that the Democrats are the way forward for this country and for labor. We got to win, and when we win, we got to get into Congress, and we got to fight for the different things we've been talking about. Okay, thanks very much, everybody.
Let me ask you two things. I'd ask you, to all of us who are here, what is it that you think we should be saying to our members about why they need to be more active than before, especially in making sure that the Congress is democratic? And also, let me ask you if you have any other final thoughts you want to give to the people in the audience.
Yep. Well, I'll say again, from a job standpoint, building union jobs starts with making sure that we strengthen and support and fund apprenticeship programs. And the building trades have set the model for how apprenticeship works in this country, and with strong standards with the Department of Labor, we've tried to expand apprenticeship with other unions and in other sectors. The culinary, for example, and Unite Here now has an apprenticeship for cooks in Nevada, the first ever. Nursing, now we have an apprenticeship for nurses. This is the future so that young people in particular can continue to earn while they learn, right? While they are developing the skills, they can begin to get paid, and get paid a good union wage. Bringing more women into the apprenticeship and people of color to make sure that these positions represent all of our communities, I think is vitally important. Democrats have made reauthorizing the National Apprenticeship Act and funding more than 1 million apprentices across the country. That is a top priority for Democrats because we put people and working people at the front of our agenda. When Democrats are in control, we put people first. When Republicans are in charge, they put Donald Trump and corporate tax breaks first. So the option is very clear. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who are about putting people first, or Donald Trump, who puts himself first. That's why we got to get out, do the work, make sure that everyone turns out and understands that it's their vote that is the power that will lift up all people.
You know, look what's happening in our country. Look at all the jobs that have been created under this administration. Look at all the infrastructure that people talked about for decades, and we finally actually got a deal done to create massive amounts of union jobs. Look at the CHIPS Act that's going to create more and more manufacturing in America. Look at the stuff we did in the Inflation Reduction Act for the green economy that prioritized not just the green part, but the economy part of providing jobs and union jobs to people. We got to talk to your members and say, listen, not all your members, but some of the members, we know they talk about guns, and we know they talk about these social issues, and we know we talk about that. But if you really care about creating an economy, if you really care about creating jobs that help people live a decent life, we're the only game in town. But we got to figure out how to get back to that basic democratic message. When Mark and Stephen and I, along with Linda and Debbie and others, reconstituted the Labor Caucus, we said no matter what issue we look at, whether it's climate or immigration or trade or this or that, whatever issue we look at, we have to look at it through the lens of labor. How is this policy going to affect the wages and benefits of working people? That's the basic story. And it used to be that everybody knew that was the Democrats. How is this policy going to affect my wages and my benefits? We have to get back to talking about that basic issue underlying every single thing that we do, that we campaign about, that we talk about. How is it going to put enough money in people's pockets so they can live the American dream? The American dream, hard work, good life. That's it.
So I've spent 3 decades in painters and allied trades. This is what I would talk about, I think, if I was talking to them right now. One, what Stephen and Tom just said are exactly the things that we got done as Democrats. And those bills are going to create over a decade's worth of jobs. And that's going to really pay off and support every single one of my fellow members' families for a long time. 2, I would talk about Project 2025, which is the roadmap for the Trump administration. Let me tell you, this is what's in it on labor. It makes it easier for employers to get rid of a workers' union in middle of the contract. It bans public employee unions. It ends project labor agreements and prevailing wage requirements. It would allow states to ban unions and eliminate overtime protections and choose to not follow the national minimum wage. It eliminates child labor laws from meatpacking facilities and mines. It does so much. So I would say that's second. And third, I would just remind them all their life, we've paid into Social Security and Medicare. And again, part of Project 2025 and the Republicans on Medicare, they want to, in Project 2025, make everyone go to a privatized plan first, not Medicare, that we've all paid into. And on Social Security, they want to raise, the Republican Study Committee has voted, their biggest caucus, to raise the retirement age to 69. And think about all the folks, especially in the trades, how hard that would be. I would mention the progress that Democrats did. I'd mention Project 2025, and I'd talk about Medicare and Social Security and how important that is.
I want to thank you all. I also especially want to thank you all for treating the people in the room so importantly that you stayed so long for the opportunity to speak to them. I think that we know that electing Kamala and Tim is only part of the battle. We need to make sure we do the entire battle, which is making sure there's a Democratic Congress so we could do all the things that you talked about today.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for your leadership.
Have a great day.
Right.
Have a great convention. When we fight, we win.
When we fight, we win. And Jared, I would ask you, Jared. I'm not sure if we have another speaker. I'm waiting to hear from Jared. Jared? Is she? Fine. You know, I may suggest that all of you, we're about to hear from an amazing person, really an amazing person, who we've known for a long time, who's been very patient with us. Why don't we move up? Why don't we all move up if we can? Everyone come on up. Roxy, are you going to?
I'll do it. Yep. Thank you. All right. It's fitting that Deb Haaland is here as we move towards making history by electing the first Black and South Asian woman to the White House. Deb is a trailblazer, one of the first 2 Native American women to be seated in Congress, and the first Native American woman in her position. She's been a force in New Mexico politics, helping rebuild the Democratic Party in New Mexico, culminating with her own election to the House of Representatives. Please join us in welcoming our last, and we save the best for last, speaker, Deb Haaland.
Thank you. Okay, y'all, I am happy to be here. Doesn't matter if there's a bunch of empty seats. You know why? Because labor is in the house. And I want you to know that I'm here in my personal capacity. That's awesome for the Democratic Convention. And I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Thank you for what you do to make our country work, to build our country. And I am so happy that you have an administration that has your back. So there is so much at stake in this election, and if there's one thing that I've learned, it's that representation truly does matter. At a time when women are losing rights by the minute, the climate crisis is hurting communities across the country, and the Republican agenda threatens to make life harder for everyone. It matters more than ever. We deserve to have a voice in laws and decisions made about us, to have someone behind the desk who understands what Americans go through every single day. You know, I've lived most of my adult life paycheck to paycheck. As a single mom, at times I relied on food stamps to put food on the table, and I'm still paying off my student loans, believe it or not. I'm not a stranger to struggles that many families across this country face every single day, but neither is Kamala Harris. She grew up middle class, raised by a single mom, worked at McDonald's through college, taking care of a sick parent. And Tim Walz knows exactly what it means to raise an entire family on a teacher's salary. They both know the value of labor of each and every one of you. There is so much value in having elected officials who understand the struggle because they've lived it. That's something her opponent will never understand. But I'm not going to talk too much about her opponent because I've had enough of him. What about y'all? America has had enough of him. And you know what? We're not going back. We're not going back to the fear and the chaos that he has caused. I'm ready to do whatever it takes to help Kamala Harris win. Are you with me? Yes. I'll even knock on doors if they let me do that. It's my favorite part, face-to-face contact with voters. That is the best part of all of this. Really, I'm still a volunteer and an organizer at heart. I understand how valuable the people who are out there pounding the pavement every day truly are. So thank all of you. So thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for everything you will do. Finally, I just want to say that I've come to know President Biden over the last 4 years. He is a good man and a wonderful president. He leads with his heart. He has been a tremendous leader for labor because he understands the value and the history of the labor movement. You know, my dad was a 30-year career Marine and a combat veteran. He met my mom while she was in the Navy. They taught me the value of service. And Joe Biden is a true public servant. He chose Kamala Harris as his partner, and he has put the country ahead of his own ambitions. That's honorable. So let's honor that service. Let's move forward. Let's go win this election, and we can do it with labor in the House. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your patience. Oh my goodness.
It's okay.
Deb, that was wonderful. It's she's no stranger to our meetings. She served in every level in the party. She was the state chair, and she's come to many Labor Council meetings over the years. And it's what makes me proud to be a Democrat is because we have leaders like Deb Haaland. Thank you. And I want to thank you all for sticking it out to the very end. We're going to be back with a totally different and briefer agenda on Wednesday. We're going to be hearing from Bernie Sanders and Julie Su. I hope that you'll be able to come back. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Okay. Day one done.
Day one done. Yes. Too long.